Hey, ladies, gentlemen, and transgenders. Welcome to episode 16 of the Slothcast, a Heroes of the Storm podcast. I am your friendly neighborhood Latino, Narsha, and just this week, I wondered what the best thing about living in Switzerland is. Well, I don't know, but the flag is a big plus. Well, this week we're back with a huge episode and we are live for the first time ever. But as usual, I'm not alone. Oh, no. To my left, we have an absolute hero, both online and offline. He is the most active caster in the Heroes Lounge, a very solid player himself, and are back on the Slothcast with his wit, wisdom, and victory guaranteed strategies. Welcome, Bias!
Wow. Well, thank you very much for having me back on. I'm not really sure I can follow up that introduction, but I'll do my best.
Your best should be plenty, if I know you correctly. There's one thing I have to ask about. As I mentioned, you are the most active caster in the Heroes Lounge this season. And last Sunday, you went all out and had a 9-hour casting marathon. Tell me about that. How did that go?
Well, I hadn't managed to get much casting done during the week, and Rob was biting at my heels in terms of the caster stats. So, I just had to go all out to make sure I stayed in front of him. It was a lot of fun. We had some delays and some various difficulties, but I think we got through it pretty well in the end, and we saw some fantastic matches. So it was a good day.
Yeah, I can imagine. I catch some of it, and it seemed really good. And it was surprising to see how much energy you had, around midnight after going for 9 hours. But yeah, that was pretty well done.
Just had to keep on it all the way through, but it was worth it. It was a good laugh.
Indeed. Be sure to catch the Heroes Lounge Twitch for the best amateur games you'll see around. And if you're lucky, you'll get to see people like Bayes or myself casting it. Our second guest today have also been on the show before, but that is a long time ago, as real life and trees that fall on houses have kept him from coming back. But the bruiser from Belgium is back with us and have hopefully gotten himself together after attending Gamescom last week. Welcome, Ray.
Thank you very much for having me again. Super excited. I did go to Gamescom. It was pretty amazing seeing all the new stuff to our heroes, especially Kotazad. Super hyped.
I'm actually very curious about the whole Gamescom trip that you did, because as mentioned earlier on the Slothcast, we've been to DreamHack and stuff, but it seems Gamescom was pretty different, and someone even mentioned it as the BlizzCon of Europe.
Well, I haven't gone to DreamHack, unfortunately, so I can't really say from first-hand experience how much different it was. But it was definitely very theatrical. Blizzard definitely put in a lot of effort to make sure that people got to see the best of their IPs there. Especially Heroes had a very nice booth, actually. I was very surprised.
Yeah, I read that Blizzard had a huge presence at Gamescom.
I think they had pretty much a little bit more than half of an entire hall for themselves, which is pretty large if you know how big the halls at Gamescom are, actually.
So. Yeah, sounds like a really good deal. Maybe I'll get to go one day myself, but that will be next year. I guess it was fun to try out stuff on the floor. Did you get to meet any interesting people?
I got to see, unfortunately not meet, because they were busy streaming Kendrick and Chu, so that was quite fun. Actually, some of my friends there who were there with us actually challenged them to a match. Because they were there as a full team, which was very fun, actually. It was on stream as well, so you can go watch that if you want.
I've seen the VOD of that.
It was very fun. So he was gracious enough to let the guys do that. So apart from that, unfortunately, didn't see too many famous people, but I had fun nonetheless.
Yeah. And you can hang out with the famous people of the Slothcast today, so it's not all doom and gloom. But this week's last guest is also a well-known figure. For those of you that has followed our last episode, from way, way, way north of the wall, he comes all the way from Finland to talk everything heroes and give us the information we need to join him in the higher ranks of Hero League. Esa-Peita Ravatar.
Hello. Higher ranks of Hero League equals Diamond 3. And regards, don't play Hero League when drunk. Bad idea.
Yeah, I was trying to be nice here and trying to steer away from the fact that you dropped down to Diamond 3.
I actually dropped to demotion to Plat because I had like 20 loss streak because I tried to play after all-nighter with slight alcohol in my blood and managed to drop entire tier. But yeah.
And remember, guys, Ravatar is from Finland, so when he says like that he's drunk, he's not like drunk like we are because he's that most of the time, but like even more. There's been a couple of episodes since you joined us last time. How has life been treating you lately?
It was treating me far better before that joke of yours. I saw it coming, but it didn't make it any less easier to take. But yeah, I'm fine. I've got a job. I'm waking up and gathering salt from the far corners of Hero League.
Seems good. I was told to ask you how your toe is doing.
I might have hit it somewhere and might have ignored it. And then it started hurting and I might have ignored it some more until somebody said it's in risk of blood poisoning, and if I don't come to hospital in 1 day, I might get hospitalized for a longer amount of time. And I didn't walk for 2 weeks, basically.
Oh.
Stepping on a Lego is apparently a real risk, it turns out.
Get the kids guns before the Lego takes them, I guess. So that is our lineup for today, and we got so much to talk about. So this episode will pretty much be an everything new special, where we first look at the changes that went live with last week's patch, and then look forward to all the changes that are happening on PTR right now. And I think that's it. If it hadn't been for the fact that Kel'Thuzad are finally coming to the Nexus. A quick round on how hyped they are for Kel'Thuzad on a scale from 1 to 10. Bias?
I'm going all the way to 10. Super hyped about this one, both in terms of the lore and the historical aspect of the character, and in terms of the hero in HOTS and the implementation they've done. This is the first time I have ever installed the PTR and gone online on the PTR to play a hero. That's how excited I am.
Ray, how hyped are you?
Same. 10 out of 10. I mean, it's Kel'Thuzad. Not much more to be said.
And Ravatar?
On scale of 1 to 10, around 11, I think. Just...
I'm gonna agree. He's like way up there on the hype level. Not only like there's so many things that line up for him. We're gonna talk much about him later, but like he is a range character, so I can play him. He's a mage. I like mages. He is Kel'Thuzad, which is like okay, but after going on the PTR and testing him, he's super fun to play and so much potential for playmaking. We're going to talk a little bit more about him later. But first, I want to give a shout out to everyone that are here live with us today as we are streaming the Slothcast recording for the first ever time. If you're listening to this and wish you were here, look up Slothcast HOTS on Twitch and we'll see you in the chat next week. But now, let's give the people what they came for. Information that will help them win more games. So looking at the patch notes that dropped a couple of days ago, we should go through them and talk about some of the more important changes. And we weren't sure if we're going to talk about this guy or not, but I think we should. Illidan got not many changes, but one pretty huge one, as his the Hunt heroic ability has an increased cooldown from 60 to 100 seconds.
Yeah, it's a huge deal. I mean, the Hunt has been his meta ult for quite a while now, and increasing the cooldown by that much is kind of a savage beating. It takes away his ability to have a consistent global to support the team past level 10. I think we might well even see some use of Metamorphosis coming back into his play now with this severity of a nerf.
Will it actually be as influential though? Like considering inherited in his trait, he does get like an automatic cooldown reduction on everything. It's because it's still going to be his best ult.
I don't think the hunt nerf, even though it's impactful, really changes Illidan's place at the meta. You still draft him like you used to. You just don't use hunt anymore to hunt to another wave lane just to get minions down or something.
Yeah, because the old cooldown was really low, like especially considering the cooldown reduction that he gets from his trait. Yeah. I think we'll just say that that's okay for now. It's not a huge thing, but it's worth having in the back of your mind if you are to play him yourself. But it won't change his place in the meta much. How about Lucio? He fell off really hard a little while ago when he got some nerfs. A couple of patches ago, he did get an increase to his healing, and now he got an increase to his maximum health and health regen. Will that change him more? I think I've seen him being picked more the last week.
Yeah, I think it does make a decent amount of difference. He's no longer quite so burstable as he was. He's still that, you know, there was a period after release before he got nerfed where he was just overtuned, just kind of too strong. I don't think he's back in that spot, but I do think he now has a reasonable place, and we will start seeing him cropping up in drafts a lot more.
He's seen playing AGC across all regions now this weekend at least. I think that tells something.
Yeah, I think so too. He didn't see much play at all. Your take on him, Ray?
I just wanted to say that I'm actually pretty excited for him making sort of a comeback. Like they said, it's not something major yet, but I actually find him to be one of the more enjoyable supports to play, just because he has that more mobile play style. So it doesn't really feel like you're just logging behind a team and just your only thing you're doing is healing. You've actually got a lot more agility than that. So I'm pretty excited for him to come back. I'm hoping for it.
Another healer that we have to talk about is Oriel, as she got some pretty major changes. There was some hope generation that was switched up, some damage that was switched, that was tuned up. And in short, she now creates more hope from herself and the damage that she does, and a little bit less from her battery. And that, together with the change to the level 7 talent Bursting Lights, that reduced the cooldown of her heal. That is a pretty major change, isn't it, Revatar?
I think people are a bit too overhyped about Ariel being unplayable or something. Now it's just straight up better before level 7, before the Bursting Light came to play anyways. But now it's less reliant on being just for hyper carry. I think Oriel is slightly better now as a solo support after the nerf, because you don't have to count that you need to have full energy every 2 seconds. She's still viable, but maybe not tier S anymore.
Yeah.
It's interesting for me as a drafter, because I think it has changed her place in draft quite a lot. I absolutely agree. I don't think she's out of the game or non-viable by any stretch of the imagination, but it does change how she functions and what you have to draft around her to make her good. You don't, as you were saying, you don't need that kind of insane damage output hyper carry anymore to get the most out of her healing output. So it's just about finding situations where you need that sustained healing over a long period of time, and are not so concerned about having lots of burst healing.
Yeah, now you can just pick Empathic Link and put it on Froge, and you will always have full energy.
I have to admit I don't know the names of all the talents in my head, but I'm pretty sure that's a talent that gives her hope when an ally takes damage.
Yeah.
Frog synergy right there. What about Uther, another healer that got some pretty big changes? In short, his healing has been ramped up, but the armor you get from being healed by Uther has been taken down from 25 armor to 15.
I'm personally not a big fan of it. I like the fact that he has a little bit more healing now, but I still think my main issue with Uther was just, I think, the issue that most people had with him, and that's the very, very long cooldowns. And I personally don't think he's that enjoyable to play because of that. Having a bit more healing might help with that. Also, I think armor is a bit stronger than healing in and of itself, so I'm not sure what the scaling on that is going to be, but I'm not too big of a fan, personally.
One thing I've noticed, and I don't know if it's a coincidence or not, but ever since Uther's armor got nerfed, Medivh started seeing a hell of a lot more play as the guy who prevents heavy burst bombs from working.
Mm-hmm.
But you still see a lot of Uther, but he's more played in to get utility out of his house, whichever you pick. And you pick Medivh as the counter to burst.
Yeah. Personally, I'd much more like to see Uther in the meta than Medivh. I don't know, there's just something about Protected that rubs me the wrong way. We talked about Medivh last episode. If you didn't catch that, go back to episode 15, and we talked in depth about Medivh there. But we also have to mention Tyrande, that got some changes too. And I'm not sure what to feel about this. For the most part, I'm glad when I see a Tyrande on the enemy team because she isn't very impactful for the most part. But after the changes she's got over the last couple of months, especially with the ones this week, late game owls really hurt.
Mm-hmm.
They do. They really do.
Yeah, Bakery says Tyrande is broken now, and that's good enough for me. She's got insane scaling. I think she's a little weak in the early game, but if you can afford that in your composition, I think in the late game that owl build just really takes off and can be pretty difficult to play around.
Yeah, definitely. She's gonna put out a lot of damage with that owl build if she's allowed to stack it up. But another change that has to be mentioned is how her Celestial Attunement, which is a talent of level 4, for her Q ability, it now also removes silences. And that makes this pretty much a cleanse.
Yeah, it doesn't... Sorry, go on.
Sorry, I was just saying, except not on roots and slows.
Yeah, not root and slows, but silences and stuns it will remove.
And also taunt and horrify.
Yeah. And that suddenly counters a lot of the abilities of some popular heroes these days.
Well, it doesn't protect you from those effects being reapplied, right? It doesn't give you an actual invulnerable or immune to those crowd control effects frames afterwards. So I'm not sure how impactful it is against something like a lurking arm from the Stukov or whatever. It kind of doesn't do anything, right? Because it removes it and then it immediately gets reapplied. So it definitely is interesting, and it definitely has quite a high power level as a level 4 talent that just procs off a basic ability. But it'll be interesting to see how impactful it actually turns out to be.
Like just from the top of my head, I will think it's more impactful versus like AoE CC, like Horridance, Gul'dan's Horrify, maybe Garrosh AoE taunt thing. But for something like Mosh Pit, it won't do anything. Like you cleanse someone that's in a mosh, and the mosh will automatically just reapply itself. So.
Mm-hmm.
Technically, whenever you remove something, you get a free cast. So if someone is in a mosh pit, you can just spam Q to all eternity.
The free cast can't proc another free cast, though, right? I believe
sure
that's
how
how
that
it works. The free cast that it procs doesn't also then proc another free cast, so you can't actually just spam it. I believe. I'm afraid. Sorry.
Feels bad, man.
It's only the chat that we now have says that it can't reapply. It's only 2 Qs maximum. It says that that Taronde is kind of an Alrak counter now. I guess that makes sense.
I'm not sure how. No,
Yeah.
I'm not seeing it.
I don't know.
I mean, you can remove the silence, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it would work more like a pre-cleanse if you see the combo coming out.
And the thing is that Alarak combo, it kills people. If the silence gets removed, it doesn't matter if you're dead. It doesn't reduce the damage you take from the combo itself.
Yeah, because and you will still be displaced.
Yeah.
You'll still be displaced, and yeah.
Yeah,
usually that's enough for the follow-up to kill you as well, so the silence being cleansed doesn't really matter at that point.
Yeah, I was thinking more using it more like a pre-cleanse. It is not a cleanse, but I have a tendency to think of it more that way. That was pretty much the healers that was changed. And I have to ask, is this a reaction to the double support meta? And if so, is it the right direction to go in?
I'd have to say I don't think so. I think it probably is a reaction to the double support meta from Blizzard's side, but I'm not sure they've actually nailed the right approach. I think if you tune down the heroes, tune down the support heroes, and or increase their other utility outside of just healing, it makes double support meta just gradually more and more and more appealing. And it feels like it's heading in that direction. And I think my guess is that's not really what Blizzard actually are wanting to achieve. So I'm not sure whether they've correctly assessed the effect of the changes they've made with this patch.
I think that with Oriel, they took the right direction.
Yeah.
Same.
Sure.
It's a lot more relevant, I think.
Yeah, and especially like how tied she was to a hyper carry. That has pretty much been broken up, as some of you mentioned. She looks better as a solo healer and doesn't have the same synergy anymore as a double healer. And Ken mentioned that Frog says that they need to tune healing and damage of supports in such a way that double support actually has a downside. Would that be just buffing? Is that maybe the way to go? Just buff all the healers so you only need one?
But they do have a downside kind of having double support, because double support comps usually have rather low wave clear. So people are used to picking Abathur and Sagar and stuff like that against double supports.
Mm-hmm. That has to be mentioned. We did an episode with Gnappe from Trick Esports where we talked a lot about double support, and he gave us all the information that we needed to counter it. So feel free to check that out. I'm not sure how much will go into the other heroes changes. There are like some like Alarak, Sagara, Suljin got small changes. I want to mention the Kerrigan change. Of course, it's pretty boring as it's just like a math change. But the only reason I want to mention her is because she's now not as viable on Infernal Shrines anymore, which kind of was the only map where she got picked, as she, with the nerfs to her Q, no longer can just clear the shrines with Q auto attack as she used to before, unless you're a couple of levels ahead. Why do they do this?
Kerrigan OP.
It's really not like okay. In the notes they say that her numbers are looking way too good. Like her win rate is looking way too good, and that's something we really don't see at Hot Slugs. Yeah, I didn't see the face you're making, Ravatar. Okay, developer comment: Kerrigan's win rate has been at a steady 1 to 2% climb each patch for the last few months. Blah 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 blah. They're saying she has a great win rate, so they need to dial her down.
I've I think the explanation for that is that if a hero is best in the spot where it's best every 200 games, and you pick it once every 200 games, where it's the absolutely best pick, you will have a better win rate than in cases where you just pick it because you like it or it could be good. But with Kerrigan, you only pick it when very niche situations. I believe that's why Rexar also has a high win rate, even though Rexar is, despite the huge flare buffs.
Just had to get that in there.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had.
Yeah, but the thing about Kerrigan is mostly like I don't understand why, and this is a totally different discussion. But we don't have access to the same numbers as Blizzard do. As Hot Slugs, they really don't support the fact that Kerrigan is OP. So I don't know. There's obviously things that they see that we don't, and I'm gonna trust them on that. I don't quite understand the changes to Chen either. Health reduced a little bit, removed some talents around. Like it's nothing big. I just don't see like the reasoning for it.
Well, I think Blizzard gave the same reasoning as they did to Kerrigan. That he has a high win rate, and I think the reason is similar to Kerrigan's win rate, that you only pick Chen when it's the absolutely best counter, and never in any other situation. Except if you're Bread Bucket, then you pick it whenever you can.
Yeah, whenever, anyways. There was also changes to Garrosh, Soul, Tassadar got some changes, mostly dialed his auto tech down a bit and made sure everyone plays W build now. Thrall, Butcher, but there's nothing really important to talk about. I feel it feels like we've covered most of the important ones, unless one of you have something that you really want to mention.
Not really.
Yeah, pretty much picked up on it. For the most part, it's the supports that gets the major changes this time, and we'll see how that plays out. I would be happy going back to only one support in the being the dominant meta, to be honest. That was it for all the changes that are live now, which hopefully helps understanding for the position these heroes are in after they gotten tweaked. So we're gonna head into a break now, but when we come back, it's all about the long-awaited Lich Kel'Thuzad and the changes that comes with him on the PTR. So we'll be right back. Welcome back. It's so nice to see that you're all still here. We have way too much to go through, so let's just get going with Kel'Thuzad, Archclix of Naxxramas, esteemed Lich Lord of the Plaguelands, Commander of the Metropolis, Master and Founder of the Cult of the Damned, Founder of the Council of Six, Creator of Abomination, Summoner of Arkham of the Defiler, Betrayer of Humanity, Hearts and Enthusiast, and Major Domo to the Lich King will finally enter the Nexus the coming week. We have access to his abilities, talents, and have played them ourselves. So, Ray, first, what's the hype around Kel'Thuzad at Gamescom?
Oh, amazing. They had this huge statue of him on the stand, which was already quite amazing. I think we even took a picture on it with everyone that went there. Apart from that, it was mostly hype for just like heroes in general. They had some nice other statues from other heroes. I can't quite remember which. I think Varian was there as well. But he definitely was prominent there, but it's not like he was the super main. Well, of course, he was in all the promotional material, but on the actual stand itself, when you're sitting down to play, it was mostly just promoting heroes in general, I think, and the upcoming event as well.
Yeah, it seems it's kind of frightening because people have been asking for Kel'Thuzad for so long, and when they finally release him, it's just like you're kind of setting yourself up for failure because everyone has so high expectations. But yeah, so far it seems like they've hit it pretty nail on the head. Let's just look at what we know about him so far, starting with his traits. His trait is called Master of the Cold Dark. It's the first, or actually not the first. It's a quest talent in the trait. Think like Natsibo or Butcher. You gain 1 Blight, as it's called, every time a hero is rooted by Frost Nova or hit by Chains of Kel'Thuzad, which are 2 of his abilities we're going to get to in a second. So that means every time you slow a hero or you root a hero or hit someone with Change of Kel'Thuzad, you will get 1 Blight. And after getting 15 Blight, your cooldown of all basic abilities are reduced by 2 seconds. And after gaining 30 Blight, you gain 75% spell power. So what do we think about this? It's something different and it's something a bit scary.
Well, go ahead.
We're bad at this, but so just getting this out of the way, I think someone from Heroes Launch, I think Leikosat plotted Kel'Thuzad scaling, and if Kel'Thuzad completes his trait at level 10, his damage jumps to a hero of level 17.
Yeah,
it's quite scary. That 75% spell power is as scary as it sounds. Like, it really does make a huge impact once you get it. And to be honest, it's not all that difficult to get, because you can get 2 stacks whenever you hit 2 heroes with your chains, which is quite easy once you hit one of them. And once you hit those 2, or when you see that you're going to hit the second one, it's actually very easy to get a 3rd stack by just using the Frost Nova below them. So it actually stacks quite fast, especially on maps like Praxis, for example, or the other, or another 2-lane map like what's the name with the 2 immortals?
AoE?
Yes, AoE. It actually stacks quite fast. People also weren't really used to it, so that might have something to do with it. Same as with how Garrosh was really strong when he was released, because people just did not know the range on the Q. But it seems like it's really, really scary, as much as you think it is.
Yeah, I'm super excited about this. I think we'll probably find the difficulty of getting it stacked is more than the impression that was probably given at Gamescom. You do obviously get all sorts of skill level players jumping into play there. So, but even the halfway point, the cooldown reduction of all basic abilities reduced by 2 seconds, is even just that is really powerful. I mean, the cooldowns on his abilities aren't that long to begin with, and I mean, for his Q, 2 seconds is 1/3 of the cooldown. You're getting a massive increase in your output from your Qs even after just 15 stacks of Blight. So I'm super excited. It's also purely skill dependent, right? Because you're gaining your stacks of Blight from skill shots entirely, and that's really exciting as well, because it does mean it's going to put a really high skill cap on the hero, because people that can get those stacks of Blight and finish that quest earlier are going to have a massive advantage over people that take longer to do it.
Yeah, and we have to mention the scaling thing, because Kel'Thuzad doesn't scale like regular heroes, which means if you finish your quest on level 20, you will be where you are supposed to be, kind of. Which means the later you finish your quest, since he scale less, the less impact it will actually have. But as Ravitar mentioned, if you finish it early, you will get a huge power spike that you're really not supposed to have. And what Beas mentioned here is, it's also interesting that he will be really hard to play against when you get the cooldown reduction, since you kind of have to look out for his spells, and he's on a low cooldown already, and when he's able to spam them out even more, there's just a lot that you have to take into consideration when playing against him. But let's look at the talent and his abilities. On the Q, he has something called Death and Decay, that after 0.5 seconds, he sends a ball of not positive things in a direction. It's a skill shot. If it hits something, it creates a puddle where it hits someone, and it does some damage over time to anyone that's standing in that area. Seems pretty straightforward.
Mm-hmm.
I think that ball might actually be filled with nausea jokes. not quite sure.
So
I think that's how it works.
It does do a front-loaded amount of damage to enemies in its AoE when it explodes, and then it continues to do damage over time to any enemies that stay in the area for initially 2 seconds. But that also can get longer. It's his main damage, and it's really interesting again because it works as a it's quite interesting the creative things you can do with it. If you can burst it behind someone and force them to run back through it, whether you're better off just hitting somebody directly with it. There's a lot of applications, and it's AoE damage, so it's pretty pokey.
The thing about it is that it comes over time, and it has quite a bit smaller cooldown than the rest of its abilities, and you still want to combat with CC. So, and I think that is one of the main reasons if you play Kaltusad, you want to have other people with lockdown as well, so you can actually get most value out of your Q and not just use it every 10 seconds when you chain people into a place.
Yeah, I guess this is where his what am I looking for? Wave clear lies too.
If you can aim it correctly, it can do a lot of wave clear. If you can get to the wave before it's spread out while it's in single file and just land it on the front of the minion wave and then retreat back, you get a lot of damage as they all march over it. Alternatively, if you get in and can land your Death and Decay in the middle of the wave on the caster minion after they've split out, exactly, from the side, that also gets a lot of damage spread across the wave. So it's pretty good for wave clear as well, and not too expensive, low cooldown. So everything you want from that regard.
A pretty standard talent, at least taking his other talents abilities into consideration. Going over to W, he has something called Frost Nova, which is the first CC ability that he has. You create a Nova. This is just a skill shot that you place on the ground. After 1 second, it explodes. It deals 212 damage to enemies inside and slowing them for 35% for 2.5 seconds. But enemies in the center of the Frost Nova are rooted for 1 whole second. And now we're starting to see like synergy potential.
Absolutely. Of course, this is the first of the 2 ways that you can gain blight stacks. So using Frost Nova raw to try and land it is not necessarily what you're always going to want to do. It absolutely can be done, but if you can use it as a follow-up to guarantee that you land that route, it's going to give you more value because it will help you stack towards your quest progress. But it's a CC, it's a range CC. It's fantastic. A really strong ability, in my opinion.
I think it's kind of I think we can better explain how much value it really gets and how much it complements his kit once we get to the second ability, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. It's also semi-straightforward, but now we're starting to see the potential of synergy. But going over to his E, now we're talking like the real fun here with Chains of Kel'Thuzad. Hopefully people have seen this, but I'm going to try to explain it. You launch a chain. This is a skill shot. It moves really fast. It deals a small amount of damage, but you can either hit an enemy structure or an enemy hero with this chain, and that's part 1. But for 4 seconds after hitting your enemy or the structure, you can reactivate or throw out another chain from the first target. That means from the hero that you hit or the structure that you hit, which follows the same rules. You can, if you hit someone, an enemy hero with the chains, you pull 2 heroes together that are chained, or if you hit first a structure and then a hero, you will pull the enemy hero to the structure and also stun them for half a second. And this is a really interesting ability. It's a double skill shot.
Mm-hmm. It's a double skill shot. It's incredibly hard to dodge. For what I've seen, the chain moves pretty darn fast. It's even more difficult to dodge once you've actually hit an enemy, because you have to. It basically screws with their positioning a little bit, because you don't want to be too close to the person who got chained, of course. On the other hand, you don't want to go too far, because that you might inadvertently isolate them from your own team at that point. But of course, you can't really run the risk of standing too easily like hittable, because if he hits you, you're going to be stunned for I think it's about half a second, which will of course be followed up with his other abilities and potentially even his teammates. So it's pretty awkward to work around with, as you've got a Kel'Thuzad in the enemy team, to be honest.
Ravatar, you got any thoughts around the chains of Kel'Thuzad?
I kind of feel the same. That it's not reliably to dodge. You have to, like Muradin Stormbolt, you have to just expect when it's coming and dodge it before you see the chain itself. It's really fun ability. One thing I'm overall worried about Kel'Thuzad, that he has two aspects. He's really fun to play, and he has really high skill cap, which adds up to very low win rate. And it might get buffed, and that's not what I wish. And it's basically because of the change that makes him so fun. And by the way, just saying, at level 1, he has the... Well, we'll get there probably soon, but change gets much better than after the lights are done.
Yeah, we'll look into a few of the talents. But those are his like 3 main abilities. And we'll just talk a little bit about synergy before looking at the heroics, because in my mind, what I did on the try mode, poor Artes, you chain a building, which was I did in try mode, and then I chain, and then I put down W and the ult that we're coming to in a second, then chain Artes, and then he lands in the root at the same time as the root explodes, so he's rooted and takes a Q to the face, so he just has to stand in the damage, and yeah, that can chunk off a really good piece of his health. Do you think I'm on the right track here when it comes to comboing with his abilities?
Yeah, I think you can fairly reliably land the Frost Nova by chainsing them and then casting the Frost Nova while the second chains is in motion, because you do get the half a second stun if you hit a hero with the chains, and then the Frost Nova's got a 1 second delay. Should be just about right to catch them just as they come out of that stun. But yeah, absolutely. If you can chain somebody and then follow up with the Frost Nova, then you're getting full damage out of your Death and Decay, and that's a really devastating amount of burst. Even before you get your 30 blight stacks, that will do a really serious amount of burst on any hero. And
talking about burst, let's look at his heroics. As everyone else has to choose from, you can go with Frost Blast, which is Cryo Blast. I've heard it be talked about, like Pyro Blast, only ice-ish. When you launch a meter of ice at an enemy hero, upon impact, the meter deals damage and to all the enemies in the area, which is a pretty large area. It's pretty slow moving, like the projectiles. You can see it coming in, you can see where it's going to hit. But the important part isn't the damage, but all enemies that are in the area that Frost Blast hits are rooted for 1.5 seconds.
Mm-hmm. This is about the range of Phoenix, I think, a little bit larger even. So it is fairly substantially large area. So gonna be hard to dodge that one. It does move slowly. I think it moves a little bit faster than Pyroblast. Yeah, I think it does.
No, I mean Pyroblast starts slow and then speeds up, right? But so they're not completely comparable, but it doesn't move very fast. I do have issues or concerns, I guess, with this ult. The damage to the main target is quite low. The damage to enemies around the main target is higher. But I think with the amount of delay we're usually going to see before Frostblast actually connects, we should see certainly in coordinated play, we should expect to see most times you'll launch your 100 second cooldown Frostblast, you'll hit one target for not a great deal of damage, and you'll root them for 1.5 seconds. And that's not worth a basic ability, let alone an ultimate.
Yeah, because I automatically think, oh my god, the potential. Like, it's so huge. It roots people for so long, and it makes it so easy to set up stun chains with like KT stuns, or you can set up a Ring of Frost from Jaina, or you can just go in and position perfectly for the most amazing mosh pit ever. But again, it moves pretty slow. You are able to, okay, this guy is gonna hit, maybe we just send him, you just go over there and we'll go over here and everything should be fine. But of course you can't actually always do that. And we have to mention actually the level 20 upgrade for this heroic. I'm not sure if you looked at it, but if you upgrade the level 20, on level 20, if you upgrade the ultimate, the slow goes up to 40% for 3 seconds, which is so big. But heroes killed while under the effect of Frostblast instantly release another Frostblast explosion.
I think the Frostblast is kind of similar to Metamorphosis or old Leoric's March of the Black King, that you're not a whole hero before level 20, but after level 20, your power spike is huge. That upgrade is really, really good, but Frostblast, not so much before that, at least in my opinion.
Yeah. I think I tend to agree that it will probably not have an enormous impact, at least not on such a long cooldown before the level 20. But the level 20 just looks insane to me. Like if you get one kill, you will probably get more, as the explosion does so much damage. And yeah, get one kill and you just see explosion on explosion on explosion. But he also has on level 10 a Shadow Fissure, which is just pretty much more damage, isn't it, Beas?
No, it isn't. It's a global ultimate on a 15-second cooldown. It's absolutely insanely powerful. I love this ultimate so much. The damage on it is good. It does a really decent amount of chunk. You can absolutely use it as a follow-up to your or an ally's combo to finish off a kill. But the thing that really excites me about this is the fact that it is a global ability. You can use it for interrupting channels. You can use it for all sorts of things over long distances, and that is a very powerful thing to have access to. I've said this to several people since I've seen these talents, but Precision Strike is a fantastic ultimate. It's not on a real hero, and now we get Precision Strike on a real hero. So I'm hyped.
The thing about Precision Strike is Shadow Fissure deals double the damage of Precision Strike with quarter of a cooldown.
Yeah, it's pretty stupid. It also have a much smaller radius, but there are some things about this ability that I think we have to hit in mind. It's because that was the thing about that was mentioned in chat now. It's not wave clear, because you can use it globally, and if I understood it right, you can also use it where you don't have vision.
Mm-hmm.
Can.
But if you don't hit the hero, you will neither get vision or do any damage. So you can kind of use it to check boss, like you use it up by the boss, and if you hit someone, you will see that they're there. But if you don't hit anyone, either from luck or positioning from the other team, then you really don't know.
Realistically, you shouldn't hit this on any target that doesn't have any kind of slow or root or stun or crowd control. It's fairly easy. It's extremely easy to see. It takes a long time to go off, and I have never hit it on anyone, even on the even in Gamescom where some people play the game for the first time ever. That wasn't CC'd, so I doubt you'll get much use out of it that way. Unless you happen to hit it on the target that's been hit by the boss route, I don't think so.
Yeah, because like it has this. Sorry,
OP against Narsha confirmed.
Shut up! I never get hit by boss routes. I have no idea what you're talking about. So when I went into the PTR and I started to play around with him, the thing I did for like 20 minutes was just hit something with a chain, put down W, put down Shadow Fisher, then chain Artes into all the damage and blow him up, and I just repeated that. So I'm really not sure about the potential that the global component of the ability is going to have, especially with how it's worked in.
I see it as very powerful against objectives, but we'll see.
Yeah, like on Cursed Hollow, for example, it's easy because you will have vision. You will see where they are standing. Same on Towers of Doom, for example. You can probably hit around the chest on Blackguard's Bay too, like stuff like that. Yeah.
Sorry, again, I'm bad at this. But I think the main part about the global component is that you can actually keep soaking a lane, and when your team goes to gank someone, you can still assist in the gank by putting a Shadow Fisher under the CC without leaving the lane yourself or giving a warning about the potential gank.
And or just use it to zone an escape route for him. Like 15 seconds cooldowns, it's nothing. So you might as well, I guess. It looks really fun. I'm looking forward to play around with it. And as mentioned, we're not going to go really into the talents now. We were waiting for him to hit live so we can play around with him more before we really want to suggest the build. But let's just look at some of the more interesting ones. Ravitars, you mentioned that already on level 1. He can take a talent to upgrade the chains.
I'm not exactly sure. Is it the best go-to option? But it seems really powerful to have 15 armor reduction when you hit the Shadow Fisher that already is supposed to kill basically anyone.
Yeah, that was the same thing that I thought when I tried them out on the PTR. I just went to that on level 1. It's more damage, which I like.
Not only for you as well, for your teammates too.
Yeah.
But then again, when I watch some Gamescom plays, most pros seem to prefer the Blighted Frost talent that increases the root duration of your W and the damage in the inner area. So that might be good as well.
Can I also just say I really like the design. All 3 of the level 1 talents, one each for the 3 different basic abilities, they all have an initial effect, a starting bonus, and then an additional bonus that is gated behind completing your trait quest. So it's adding even more emphasis onto motivating you to get that quest completed as early as possible to unlock the full power of your level 1 talent pick as well, which allows them to put more power level onto some of those level 1 talents, which is really cool.
Yeah, I agree. They all seem interesting. I'm looking forward to play around with them more. On level 4, I have a tendency to go more chains, but there is a level 4 ability, now talent, that looks really fun with the Phylactery of Kel'Thuzad, where you collect 10 region globes. When you have collected the 10 region globes as part of the quest, when you die, you just press a button and you're instantly revived. On level 4.
Yeah. I mean, Resurgence of the Storm was a level 20 talent back in the start of HOTS, and that got removed because it was too powerful. Now they've re-added it as a level 4 talent, thinking.
But of course, this has some more to it, because when you gather all those globes, you will heal for 10% of all spell damage done. So it's kind of like Diablo Souls, which it gives you a buff when you collect them, and when you lose them all, you will automatically get a bit weaker. The fun thing here is that you can decide. You die, you have 10 globes.
Yes.
Should I use it now and go back into the fight like immediately, or should I just take the time it takes to revive and keep the 10% heal on spell damage?
I think it's gonna be I will keep the 10% spell life steal most of the time, because you have to keep in mind it's respawning at your Hall of Storms, so you do have to walk back to wherever you were if you want to participate in the fight again, unless you're at level 10 and you have your ult back, of course. But yeah, I think that's going to be the most picked one, because 10% lifesteal on spells is pretty strong, actually.
Yeah, and I think so too. And then the interesting thing about it is it will probably be down to like each instance. You have to, okay, is it worth using it now or is it not? It will kind of be like a strategic decision that you have to make each time you die, but hopefully you won't die.
Exactly. I like it because it gives you choice. That's pretty much what you said.
It's an interesting sort of got an internal self-balancing mechanism as well in terms of those regen globes. In the early game, when it's very easy to pick up 10 regen globes, you can do that really quite simply and quickly and safely. Using the phylactery is going to be much less valuable because your death time is so much lower. In the late game, when using the phylactery is going to be hugely impactful if you can, undo a death timer of 60 seconds or whatever it might be. It's much harder to regain your 10 regen globes at that stage of the game safely. So it's going to be an interesting balance there in terms of deciding whether you need to be using it or not.
It's kind of like, again, Diablo Souls, only that when you die, you have the choice to keep your souls and just take the death timer.
I think.
Yeah, sorry, Walter.
Yeah, I think the phylactery is absolutely insane, and I think it's one of the main reasons. I think we'll see health shot mainly on maps where, like Tomb of the Spider Queen, where you are able to get those globes somewhat consistently, even in the late game, because having Life Legion spells and instant respawn, people actually pick the No One Can Stop Pete on Malthael just to have one respawn as a level 20 talent. But if you can do it multiple times in the late game, that's absolutely broken.
Yeah, I think they hit the nail here with the balance of it. We, of course, have to see when it hits live. But a talent that I really want to mention is on level 7, the Glacial Spike. This thing is so much fun. Like, you create a spike of ice, whatever you want. It has some range, of course. And the Glacial Spike, it detonates after 4 seconds, dealing 220 damage to nearby enemies. And the important part there is that the spike can be affected by Chains of Kel'Thuzad. So, for the most part, in try mode, out with the spike, put down the W and the R, then shoot the second chain from the spike to Arthas, grab him, and blow everything up. And then you also get the damage from the Glacial Spike when it goes down. This seems really fun.
Yeah, it's kind of insane. I mean, not only does it do everything you just described, you can also just use it as a ranged body blocking tool. It's got pathing like normal terrain. So if you place it down and it obscures enough of a gap to block somebody off, you can literally body block somebody in with it as well. So it once again adds more layers, more options, more decisions, and a higher skill cap to the hero. So yeah, I'm also really excited for Glacial Spike.
One thing about it is that when you put it on the ground, it doesn't appear there immediately. It has a delay, and it doesn't have terrain immediately. But what you can do is immediately shoot the chains at it, and it will stay there even before it launches up.
It will also make it even harder to play against, as you can, like, you can run away, but the spike has range. So throw that out, throw a chain on him, and you can be able to catch someone that's retreating. I just think it has a lot of potential to be really fun. Anything else you want to mention before we move on?
One thing I want to mention. I think there's one talent on level 7 that people kind of overlook, and that's the chilling touch. And whereas it doesn't sound really exciting, basic attack slows everyone and deals spell damage, it synergizes with Power of Ice Crown on level 6, that whenever you slow a hero, you get 6% spell power for 10 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. So in other words, before the fight, you can do one auto attack and get instantly 30% spell power extra for your combo. And having 30% more spell power on a Shadow Fisher.
Yeah, then, yeah.
Goodbye, Arthas.
Yeah.
Was nice to meet you, not really.
We'll go if we go more into the talents. There are more talents that I want to talk about, but I think we're gonna do that after we've actually tried them some. Bias?
Sorry, there is one other talent I just want to touch on before we move on, which is the Hungering Cold talent at level 16. It says that enemies rooted by Frost Nova take an additional 60 damage each time they are damaged by Kel'Thuzad during the next 4 seconds. Now, because you've got your Q, your Death and Decay, is a damage over time that deals damage every half a second. If you can get all of your combo working together, I've seen some videos, indeed, in fact, of some Heroes Lounge players in try mode putting out over 8,000 damage in about 3 seconds with a single rotation of KT's abilities. So I think that Hungering Cold additional damage stacking is definitely one to watch.
Yeah, it will probably just pile up on everything else, and it's going to be terrible. He's going to, of course, have a lot of different skins when it comes out. I'm just counting them now. It's going to be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 11 skins or something. But we'll also get some other interesting skins for other heroes. And no, I'm not talking about Sonya or Sagara, even though those look pretty cool. But Dreadlord Jaina, guys.
I've seen it as well. I've played against it, and I do have to say, as far as the skin itself goes, looks amazing. I love it. I'm gonna get it as soon as it comes out. I'm a little bit worried though. I have played against it, and some of her abilities are actually really hard to spot. I have seen Frost Rings go well. I haven't seen them. That's the point. And the only way I knew they were going off was by the sound, basically. So I'm a little bit worried about that, actually. Apart from that, great skin. Blizzard, please keep these up. These are amazing.
Yes, indeed, and hopefully, since it's on the PTR, they can fix stuff like that before it's going live. And we also have to mention the short video that we got for when Kel'Thuzad was released, with Jaina turning into the Dreadlord Jaina and Sonya jumping in and Sagara burrowing up.
You're all missing the real takeaway from that video, which is Sergeant Hammer rework confirmed.
Yeah, she can now leave her tank and punch Sagara in the face.
I love how realistic Blizzard went with the video, showing exactly how useful Jaina is to your friendly team in Hero League.
Thank Jaina.
6 versus 4. We have to move on for now, since we have spent so much time on this. But we are all really hyped for Kel'Thuzad and Dreadlord Jaina, pretty much. But Kel'Thuzad, it's going to be so amazing. But they are not the only changes that are on the PTR at the moment. We have some heroes that we need to talk about, as they are getting some, I'm not going to say major rework, but still pretty much changes. And maybe the biggest one is to everyone's favorite healer and Sardonic's one-trick pony, Lieutenant Morales. The biggest change is that she no longer has mana, she has energy that she uses to fuel her healing beam. All other abilities are free to cast. Morales can hold up to 100 energy. She will heal, it will deplete, and then it recharges again. But people doesn't seem to be too happy about this.
I think the biggest Morales change is now still that the Medivac basically makes you a living Mario Kart. But
Yeah, hopefully they fix the bugs before it hits.
no.
Yeah, for those that haven't seen it, you should. We can maybe put a link to it in the YouTube description, as there are some pretty interesting bugs with the Medivac at the moment. But apart from that, it seems like the healing, like the energy, it depletes over time, and then it takes a really long time to charge back up again. And is this a good direction for her?
I think it would have been a better direction if they had made it kind of like Bakery said, depletes really quickly and come back very quickly. Right now, the main problem is that it takes 3 seconds without healing for it to get back, and it's slightly annoying when you're healing someone and people play it like it was old Morales and go back to take some damage, and then you have to heal them again, and you stop the process of getting your energy back.
Yeah, starting the recharge.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I also kind of. It's because when you I don't play much healers, and at least not Morales, but I played this game for a while, and what I've noticed from my deep analysis is it's fun to do things, and it's pretty boring not to do things. And with Morales like this, she has to spend a lot of time not doing things. Because you have to wait 10 seconds before the recharge begin, and then wait for the recharge to happen.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And I mean, her other two abilities are both on a relatively long cooldown as well. So, I think it's going to be a little bit awkward. These sort of enforced periods of inactivity just don't feel very good when you're trying to play the hero. And, it does introduce a skill element. Obviously, you need to find that correct rhythm of healing and then taking a pause and then being able to jump back into healing again. But I'm a little nervous. I'm not at all convinced she's going to feel good or fun to play after these changes.
One thing I'd want to mention about that, if you build her, you can build her in a way where she can actually just recharge energy faster than she uses, even when healing. If you have the Caduceus feedback that your basic attacks restore 4 energy each time, and then there's a talent that grenades give you energy also.
I was about to mention them. She does have some new talent changes to the grenade build, kind of, where she can a lot less cooldown and just throw them out every time she hits a hero, gets them back. But come on, how fun is it really to throw out grenades? Like, I don't know. It's just it doesn't seem like a direction that I'm confident it's gonna help her see more play. But we'll just have to wait and see, and maybe we'll get Sardonic to give us some pointers how she looks. He's probably on the PTR right now, playing her as much as he can.
For sure.
Some changes to the heroics. The Medivac got his health reduced a lot, but the minimum delay for when it takes off are now down from 4 to 3 seconds. But that's pretty minor. I suggest we move on to Leoric. Because Leoric got some changes.
I think Leoric is the most broken thing this game has ever seen if it comes out in that form.
Oh yeah?
It's pretty strong.
So tell me what's so strong about it?
Well, I feel like there's quite a few things to say. So I unfortunately didn't have the chance to test out everything, but it seems like just the base change to his auto attacks, which is now that they first cleave twice, I think, and then they deal extra damage. I think it's just a critical hit. Makes him already pretty strong in lane. It helps him a lot. Like his only clear tool is no longer just his Q. That already is pretty strong. Some of his talents actually Actually, a lot of his talents got switched around. Some of them are pretty darn strong. Unfortunately, while it doesn't make him stronger, like you said, I'm very sad that Double Soak Leoric is now gone.
Mm.
So let's see.
Yeah, and then
Well, I mean,
Yes, it's 100 additional damage. My bad.
Yeah, by us.
That's attack.
so if his wave clear is increased sufficiently by the cleave on his auto attack, it doesn't necessarily mean he's not going to be able to double soak. The Royal Focus style specifically of double soaking isn't going to be a thing anymore, but I think his cleaves may allow him, with good positioning and one use of the Q, to clear a wave in a very short amount of time, which is all he would actually need to continue to be a viable double soaker. We'll have to see what it looks like when he gets into live, but I think it's still quite viable.
And also ignoring the fact that his Q got cooldown increased, the Royal Focus increased the damage of your next lethal swing by 50%, but now there's a new talent, Neo Peasants, or whatever it is.
It's a really cool. It's called Neil Peasants, which is a really cool name for an ability.
Yeah. It increases it by 75%. So the damage of a single Q into a minion web technically is higher, and then you have cleave. I think you can still, in a way, double soak with him, kind of similar fashion than before, just because of that talent exists.
Yeah, in some form he should be able to. At least he has enough damage to clear a wave reasonably well. And if like the top mid on Blackguard's Bay, he should be able to. But you mentioned, Revitar, that if he comes out in this form, he will be the most broken thing in the game. Is it that bad?
March of the Feeder King is actually now a legit talent, and I don't like it. It's absolutely insane about how much damage it deals and how much it heals. But the one thing I've enjoyed about it is it's incredibly fun to play Kel'Thuzan and leave a Shadow Fisher to the location where the march ends and just see all that healing output go up.
Yeah, for those that don't know, Leoric has a second heroic called the March of the Black King, also March of the Feed King. The cooldown is reduced by 30 seconds, the mana cost is reduced by a lot, damage increased by a lot, and the heal that he gets from the damage that he does is also increased a lot. And yeah, I'm not sure about how if I'm looking forward to that being the dominant heroic.
Based on my PTR games, and I know these are PTR games, but every time there's a Leoric, he basically just doubles Janus and Kel'Thas as a hero damage output. And I think there's something really wrong with that. And it shouldn't really exist.
But he still has his Entomb. And on level 20 now, you will silence everyone that's being caught in the Entomb. Isn't that OP?
But then you have to pick Entomb.
And I mean, if you wanted that effect, you got it already with Stukov, right? Like, it was a 2-hero combo, but they were both good heroes. So you could build your own version of that very simply already. And Entomb did get nerfed, right, as well.
It got cooldown increased, I think.
25 seconds. Not necessary, in my opinion.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah. Makes it so you definitely won't have it up every fight now, at least.
But let's, he's gonna be a change for sure, and we'll see how it all works out. If he's as broken as Revitar says, remember that if he really is, you heard it here first. Moving over to the World of Warcraft version of Leoric, we have Chrome. That also got some changes. The most noticeable being the change to the Q, not necessarily the ability, but how it's now tied into a quest. That is the Sandblast. Hit 80 heroes with Sandblast. Hitting with a consecutive cast count as 2 hits. So it's a bit easier to stack up if you are precise with it. You will get 5 extra damage for each hero hit. And after hitting those 80 heroes, Sandblast leaves an echo behind. and that is the same as Past and Future Me, which was earlier on level 20. And then Echo also casts an untalented Sandblast that deals 40% of the damage.
Yeah. I just got to say, first off, 80 hits with Sandblast is a lot.
It's a lot.
And that is going to take quite a good amount of time, even with the potential to get a double proc on the quest if you can hit. So if you hit one and then you hit another one directly, your next cast hits, that'll be 3 quest procs off those 2 casts. If you hit the next one, that's 2 as well. So if you can keep hitting, you can stack it up much quicker. This again is quite exciting. I like things that are difficult, that are challenging, and that reward player skill. And this fits soundly into that category. So I'm pretty excited about that change.
And the thing that I immediately think about this is okay, but I'll just pick up Piercing Sands on level 4, and it will be super easy to stack this up. But Piercing Sands is now moved to level 20.
I think people laugh at that talent a bit too much, mainly because right now at late game, once you have stacked Chromie's Q is basically feels like 80% of her damage. Like in late game, Qs are way more impactful than early game. And if you can hit 2 targets with your Q, that's basically supposed to one-shot, or not one-shot, but take 50% health of most people's health pools. If you can get it at 2, it's way more impactful than it used to be before changes.
Before we kind of like summarize how Chromie's position is right now, just look at some of the other talents that got changed. Level 2, level 4 for the heroes, Timely Surprise, which is new for her E talent. Sandblast and Dragon Breath's cooldown are reset when Time Trap is triggered, which could be fun to play around.
It's a trap talent, no pun intended. But
a time trap talent?
yeah.
but why would you say that? Like in my eyes, I just see it and I think, okay, that's a free combo for me every time someone goes into the time trap.
Basically because you don't care too much if your Q cooldown gets reset, because it's 2.5 seconds, you don't really mind. But the thing about it is, first of all, you give up Bronze Talons, that's one of your more consistent ways of getting in damage. But also, in team fights, you're not really confirming that you're going to get a E trigger and to get off another charge. And you use time traps a lot in order to scout people or ward bushes to make sure you don't get flanked. And if that's the case, you probably already have your cooldowns off because you didn't see them coming without a time trap. So.
What about on level 11? Maybe you like that better. Here and There, which is an activatable talent. Activate to have Chromie swap places with her Sandblast Echo. And of course, to get any use out of that, you have to finish your quest, hit all those Qs. But if you do it, you are able to switch places with the Echo, the Past and Future Me thing. And I'm not sure if I should like this or not, because hitting 80 heroes, as Bayo says, it's not easy. But at the same time, being able to swap places with that Echo could make for some good potential.
The effect is fairly powerful. A teleport on your low mobility squishy mage is just on paper is absolutely fantastic. There are 2 issues with this talent as far as I'm concerned. One of them is the one that you already touched on. If you're not completing your hit 80 heroes until level 18, 19, 20, somewhere like that in the game, you don't have a level 13, level 11 talent. It literally does nothing. And that's really bad news. Now, I mean, if somehow you've managed to get that quest, the built-in quest completed before you hit level 11, then wonderful. I think you'll probably pick Here and There quite often. But unless you're already really close to those 80 hits, it's going to be hard to pass up on the ice block equivalent that she has. The other issue with it is you don't get to position your Sandblast Echo very effectively. If you're retreating, you'll be casting your Q and then running away a little bit, and then your Sandblast Echo is actually closer to the opponents, potentially in the middle of the enemy team. Swapping to it's going to be absolutely no good. Because you want to be chucking out your Q very consistently, more or less on cooldown, the ability to actually choose where you're teleporting to is going to be much more restrictive than it is at first glance. So I'm not at all convinced that that this talent is going to be good.
We are as usual way over the time that we planned out, but I have to mention.
Sure. One more thing I wanted to say. I think this Chromie just changes Chromie's function of where you draft him quite a lot, because before you wanted to you were happy to draft Chromie into triple backline that die to one combo and can't get to you. That was the best place to draft Chromie, but now I think it's more against more frontline, more tankier teams, so you can more easily stack up your Q and ramp it up more reliably. And it's less good against a weaker backline because your Qs are not going to get ramped up that way.
That makes sense and should be something that people keep in mind when they're drafting Chromie over the next week after these changes go live. She will really need to stack that Q. That's where her power spike is kind of. We have to mention Jaina really fast before we round off here. She got changes. Not going to go through all of them, but I don't know. Beas, maybe you want to take us through Jaina a little bit?
I can try, but I'm going to be honest. Despite being a mage player, Jaina is not my hero. She's been out of the meta for so long that I'm not very up to date. So Ravatar might have better insight.
I've watched a lot of pro players and people who were at Gamescom, and they all keep saying one thing, that even though Leoric is absolutely insane now, Jaina got the greatest buff.
Ooh.
They say that the fact that she got Ice Block on her baseline and the level 7 new talent Ice Fury wand is absolutely broken. It gives you consistent sustained damage and spammable Blizzard, which is really good. And it wasn't like Jaina was too much away from being good. It was like almost on the verge, but you always just wanted probably a Leeming or Kel'Thas above that. But now, having the old Ice Block Blink back, for example, it's much better.
Let's just mention the trade first. After she have done 15,000 damage to chilled enemy heroes, she will get Ice Block, like baseline.
Improved Ice Block,
the improved Ice Block. And that's something we've asked for a long time. It's finally here. You just have to do those 15,000 damage to enemies' heroes first. And it's interesting that she got such a buff. Are there other details about her avatar that you think are some of those that will make her better?
I need to confess, I have not played Jaina on PTR yet, so I'm basically just quoting other people that have played.
Well, that's fine.
But a lot of that is the fact that she has insane burst right now, and the fact that she's actually not only has the same insane burst, but she actually has sustained damage, and a lot of it. And that's thanks to the Ice Fury wand at level 7.
Yeah, the Ice Fury wand. Your basic attacks against shield targets deal 75% bonus damage and reduce the cooldown of Blizzard by 1 second. And for like Beas, I'm a mage player, but I haven't focused too much on Jaina as she's been so out of the meta for so long. But the thing that we complain about with Jaina is the cooldown on Blizzard, because it's so freaking long. And Ice Fury 1 will fix that, not only as it reduced the cooldown of Blizzard, but it would actually make your basic attacks mean something at all. Not only for the 75 bonus damage, but the cooldown reduction.
Yeah, Indeed. I definitely think, from what I've been made aware of these changes, that I'm going to have to start picking Jaina back up again once these changes go live, because I think she's going to be definitely having a much stronger position in the meta than she has done.
Yeah, I agree. This seems interesting. The problem, though, a huge problem, BS, is that we can't, or we can, but we probably shouldn't draft Jaina when we're first picking Kel'Thuzad.
That is an issue, and I hadn't thought about that. Okay, no Jaina, that's fine.
Banner out, first pick Kel'Thuzad. With all of these changes, it will be interesting to see how things develop in the time to come, and just in time for a new season of Hero League. And just as Hero League, this episode has to end one way or another. So let's just rush to the core and go to shoutouts. Beas, you got anyone or anything you want to mention?
Yeah, just going to shout out my team Forever Alones, playing in Heroes Lounge. We've got a match in a couple of days, so pretty excited about that. I do also just want to say I will be streaming a Heroes Lounge match tonight. So anybody that's got some free time this evening, it is at 8:30 CEST, and we'll be going live on the Heroes Lounge channel. So come and check it out and say hi if you like watching some commentated, coordinated Heroes Lounge amateur play.
Indeed, I'll second that. Twitch.tv/heroes_lounge is where you want to be to see the best of amateur Heroes of the Storm in the world. Thanks a lot for coming on, Bias. We appreciate it a lot.
Absolute pleasure. Fantastic to come on again. It was a lot of fun. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ray, also a big thanks for you for coming on and sharing all your experiences from Gamescom. I hope you had a good time this week, and feel free to give some shoutouts too.
I had a blast. Shout out maybe my new team who has taken me on as a refugee when I have deported myself from my old. Thanks, guys. It's been a lot of fun playing with you. Apart from that, not really much to say. Amazing to be here again. Thanks.
Yeah, a small shout out to Ray's new team. Baguette, Jacques Depardieu, Camembert. Okay. And lastly, Ravatar, our Nordic alibi. Thanks again for coming back on the show. I know the viewers enjoy it almost as much as me. Got any last words for everyone watching and listening today?
I'm implying that I have friends. But yes, a shout out to all slots in the lounge watching this. It's been a blast here, once again.
Indeed, it was good to have you back. Let's make this a regular thing so we can have you back more often. Follow the show on Twitter @SlothcastHots. Give us a like on YouTube, and we'll be back here recording live next week, so you might as well press the following button on Twitch too. As for myself, I can, as normal, be found @the_Narsha on Twitter and in a Discord server near you. And if you have any types of feedback or suggestions, we are very happy to receive them in the comment section on YouTube or Reddit. And if you have a great joke, I'll take them too. Thanks to everyone watching, listening, in the chat, in the Reddit thread, and a big thanks to our production crew for making this happen. But for now, enjoy your week, go win some games, and good luck, and have feeds.